Hey guys, welcome to Traditional Bow Hunting and Wilderness Podcast. This is Jason Samkoviak, and today we're going to talk about different methods to sharpen your broadhead and your knives. We want to get them razor sharp. There's a bunch of different ways to do it out there. Today we're going to take a look at a few different methods that work really good. And then you can pick and choose what's the best for you, but I'll kind of break down how to use it, what is the best of that version of that style that I think is out there, and how to get the best results from it. So first off, as far as this simple do-it-yourselfer kind of setup that's pretty flawless and does everything. Some of these systems are going to do just certain things. Other ones are going to do everything. One of the things that will do everything that costs very little money is going to go ahead and build yourself a sandpaper sharpening block. And it's very simple. It's just a piece of 1x4 wood that I take in here, you can see. And I've notched it with a saw. I cut 2 cuts down there with a saw so I could fit these clips in. And I cut it to fit a piece of standard automotive type sandpaper, just like this stuff right here. You can get it in a bunch of different varieties. It's very affordable, but this is an awesome sharpening system. I've actually did a whole nother video on this about 5 years ago that showed how to make this and use this. But what's nice about this is you can run a heavy grit, a real heavier grit, like a 220 or a 300 or 320 grit sandpaper on there, and you can really reset that edge by working that backwards like this. Bring it backwards. You never cut on sandpaper. You don't want to cut into the blade because you can actually, when you start getting it pretty sharp, you can cut the paper. So you're back blading with this system, but you can back blade that, and it's really easy to keep that angle. The sandpaper is nice and wide, so it gives you a really good surface on there, and it works great. And once you have your first set for your first bevel set on there, and you got it broke down, then you can go to finer grit papers. You can use all sorts of different paper, all the way down to this is probably a 2000. That's a 1500 grit. That'll put a mirror finish on it. So with this one sandpaper block that you have right here, you can actually do everything you want for your knives, and it is very fast, very effective. The sandpaper is very cheap and it lasts for a long time. You could probably sharpen you could probably do a dozen broadheads on one piece of paper and not have to change it. So like I said, this is a great system, really simple and easy to use. It does take about 5 or 10 minutes to make this. Just take, like I said, I took a 1x4 piece of wood, cut it to the length of that sandpaper, took my saw, and I put a couple cuts in there, 2 cuts right next to each other to be able to fit that in there. Just very simple to do with anything you got. Just really easy to make, and very simple and effective, and doesn't cost much. I'll bet you got a whopping with sandpaper maybe $10 into doing this to build this to get you by for a whole year of everything, and then all you need is to replace the sandpaper. So this is an awesome system, but like I said, you are going to back blade only. Okay, you're going to back blade on there for everything you do, which means when you get to a point where you start to build up that wire edge on there, you're going to want to have a piece of wood or something that you can put a couple of cuts like that in to break that wire edge off, and then finna do your final edge on there. Anytime you're back blading something, you're going to build up that wire edge. You got to get rid of it, as I've said before. So you just run it down a piece of wood like that breaks that off, and then you'll feel that sharp edge, and then you can finish it out. But that sandpaper block, awesome system. Absolutely incredible, very easy to make, very functional, and it is a do everything system from start to finish, all the way through reprofiling edges, all the way to the final stropping and a mirror polished edge if you want it, and everything in between you can do on that sandpaper block. It is an incredible setup. By the way, this is one of my practice broadheads. This thing is buttered all. It couldn't cut you if you wanted to. So if you see me wiggling this around, just know that, like I said, it's one of my practice ones. It's been shot at dirt so much, this is duller than a butter knife. Now, another system that is classically designed as a do-it-all system, although I don't use it that way, is your belt sander. Now, a standard belt sander like this one here, there's actually better ones on here. I'll put a link down below to a better one here for you. It's very similar. It's just a newer, improved version. I've had mine for about 5 years, but just really simple, really effective. You got a flat spot right here where you can do your flat grinds. You can do convex edging right on this spot right here where there's no bar behind there, so you get a little give to that in there. It's an ultimate little tool for sharpening everything. This is what I use for all our kitchen knives. It's what I use for all of my broadheads and my knives. But with my broadheads and my hunting knives, all I'm doing with that is I'm setting the profile edge. I'm setting the edge, and then I'm doing the rest by hand, because I think I can beat this better by hand with some of my systems that I use. So It's a great setup, but I don't use it all the way through. Now, some people do, and they're incredible with it, and you can get different grip belts that are really cheap. You can get a leather strap belt that goes on there and works really good. And I have all that. I just cannot get, with this, I cannot get it as great as I can by hand. So what I do is I take my broadheads and I reprofile. You turn it on. This blade is spinning this direction, okay? It's going top to bottom. So you always want to, you don't want to have your blade up where you're going to cut that, because then if that snags, it's going to cut and fling that right into you. So that's going down, you sharpen with your edge. I'll show you better on a knife, but you don't want to be like this, because if that comes down and catches that, it's gonna cut the belt and it's gonna swing that into you. So you want to sharpen just like you did on that sandpaper block, where you're gonna back blade sharpen like that. You're going to do the same thing on here. You're going to hold it this way so that that blade is going down, back blade sharpening it. Then you come across the other side over here and you back blade sharpen it like that. Come back to this side over here, back blade sharpen it. Switch the belts out. You can put on your leather strop, do whatever you want. I didn't bring an extension cord out here to run this, but I've got tons of videos in here that show you, if you want to see how this thing works and how to sharpen heads and knives on it, go check out one of my other videos, or maybe I'll link it at the end. But it's there for you. Awesome system. Again, a one-stop do everything, all the way from all your grits all the way through to getting your final stropping done on that. So that works awesome as well. And I'd be lost without this. This is one of my favorite tools, especially for setting the edges on broadheads, for doing my kitchen knives. My kitchen knives, I don't need them to be scary sharp. I just want them shaving sharp. So on my kitchen knives, I can take this thing, turn it on, rip it across down both sides, get that edge, swap out a belt, go from a 400, go up to an 800 belt, hit it once across there, check it, knock off the wire edge, I'm done. Quick and simple. About a minute and a half a knife. So really simple. Very valuable tool. I highly recommend this. I love it. It's like I said, I'd be lost without it. You can do axes, lawnmower blades, you do everything on it. So it's a great system. Now, for your, the other thing too that a lot of people use for their broadheads, and I know some people don't think it's a good idea to use them on knives, but I do all the time too, and that is your standard bastard file, mill bastard files. These things are incredible. They've been sharpening broadheads and things forever, but I do think it's kind of funny that nobody sharpens knives on them. There is no difference. If you have a nick in your knife blade, if it is damaged, there's nothing wrong with sharpening your knife with a file just like you did a broadhead, to reprofile that edge and get that thing back to perfect like that. I mean, it does not, I don't know if that'll focus very well for you with me out here, but it doesn't rip that to pieces. It's not bad. And then once you do your final finishing with your ceramic rods or your stones or your sandpaper or whatever you're doing, it's going to be just fine. It's not a bad thing to use a file on a knife blade. You're not hurting anything. Okay, a knife blade is no different than a broadhead blade, but people are always afraid, oh my God, I'm not going to do that to my $100 knife. I do that to so many knives, it's not even funny. So it is a great tool, even for a knife, to reprofile a nicked, damaged, or chipped blade. A mill bastard file does a great job. On your broadheads, obviously, a lot of people sharpen heads with these. Works fantastic. When I do this, a lot of people go, well, it only sharpens in one direction, so you're wasting time. If I go like this and lift up, I have to reset an angle here and make sure I'm perfect again and do it again. If I keep it on that angle and just keep going back and forth, even though I'm not cutting on the backside, you know, I'm not sharpening, I'm actually keeping my same angle though, so it speeds up the whole process for me. So I just file it away like this and get that thing until it's got a burr formed, flip it, get that burr formed on this side. Once it's there, flip it back, take it off, and sharpen it. But a file only does your profiling. It only creates that correct apex and bevel. This will not do your finishing sharpening. This will not take it to scary sharp or razor sharp. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think. I've seen so many people that file sharpen their broadheads and they think that it's sharp because they, feel that bite. That bite is a burr and a wire edge. You are not sharp with this. Okay, I don't care what you're thinking. This alone will not sharpen it. You still have to go to something else to clean that edge up, even if it's just stropping. You cannot only use a file to sharpen a broadhead and get good results. And if you think you can, you're fooling yourself. I'm sorry, I don't want to upset anybody. Files are great, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I got a whole stack of them here and I got them everywhere. I use these a lot for reprofiling edges. Now I actually use this more, but for 20-something years, this was all I did to reset every one of those edges and start my sharpening. I never finished with this. This will not do your finishing work for you. Unless you get some of these that got like a steel on the back here. That's actually a steel on the edge, and you can use that a little bit as well too, and use that steel end on there. But these are not not a finished thing. But a file, fantastic. Cannot beat a file for setting profile edges. Now, when you get to the finish work of a broadhead, once you've done your sharpening on here and set the edges, or used a file to set the edges, here's where some of these specialty items kind of come into play. Again, that sandpaper block, this is a one-shop do everything because you can change out the papers on it. This you can do everything with because you can change out the paper grits, and you can go to a ceramic or a leather strop. These, one job. The only job of a file is to set the profile of the edge and get it started. Now, to finish that, to take that further, we have a few options. One, a simple ceramic rod. Yes, these have been around forever. They work incredible. This is the one I use in the kitchen. But yeah, you can do some incredible stuff by setting that edge just like this. And because with a ceramic rod, you're going into you're cutting into it. You're not back blading. You're cutting blade first, blade leading. You're removing any wire edge that is on there. So this is a fantastic system for sharpening. That will get that file sharpened, or however you did it, razor sharp, and get it there so it's ready for stropping. These, incredible. I will put a link down to below. This thing is ultra light. You could actually take it in the field with you. They have them in smaller sizes. This is Dexter Russell, which is an incredible brand, and it's like I said, it's a great steel. It's actually not a steel, it's a ceramic rod. Steels don't sharpen a knife. What a steel does is once you use a knife a bunch of times, when you take a knife out and you use it, what happens is that blade starts to get wavy like this as you've been using it. A steel that's made out of steel, when you run it down that steel, will realign all those waves that are all over the place back to an actual point and give you a sharp edge again. That's what a steel does. A steel reprofiles. Ceramic rod sharpens as it does it. It's going to sharpen as you're going. So there's a big difference. Ceramic rods, sharpeners. Steels, they just reprofile. So ceramic rods, sweet and easy and simple to do. Another system that I do not use a lot, that I do play with quite often, but I don't get as good of results. Whetstones on here, like this one here. This is my favorite one. I've had about 7 of these over the years. This is my second time I've bought one of these. My other one just finally wore out so much, and you can reflatten these, which is pretty easy to do. A lot of videos on how to do it, but it was getting so thin on the coarse side that I finally broke down and just bought another one on here. But this is a 1000 and 6000 grit. So you have both sides on here, right? So you got this here is the 6000 grit side. This is the very, very fine polishing side. This is your 1000 grit, which is the much harder or much more aggressive, quicker sharpening side. This is a Whetstone. So what you are going to do with this is, before you use it, you are going to soak it in water. I have a little pan, a little Tupperware bowl that's the same, just a little bigger than this. Put it in there, leave it sit in water for about 5 to 8, 10 minutes. Pull it out, and then you can set it. I put it on a cutting board that has the little drip edge all the way around it so that it holds any water. Just a little square $2 cutting board. But I set it on there, and then as you're using this, you are again going to be back blading if you want to, or the beauty of it, you can go forward on a Whetstone. You can do whatever you want. Never use oil on one of these, on this particular one. This is a Whetstone. It is not an oil stone, it is a water stone. Water stones do a better job of sharpening, although they wear out a little quicker. It's not expensive, and the other one lasted me probably 6 years. I mean, it was pretty good, and I used it a lot. Like I said, these do work really good, but you got to have, for me, I'm just not as good as I am with ceramic on them than I am with this. I just cannot use, I can get the sharpness I want with this, but it takes me a lot longer to do it than it does to use some of these other systems. So I don't mess with this a lot. But again, I do like having it for certain things. So I even, again, when mine wore out, I just went out and bought myself a new one. So it is worth having. But like I said, what's nice is you can avoid that wire edge with this because you can go into the stone like this. You would again want this to be wet. But Whetstone's awesome, great option. And then this one here being a 1000 grit side and a 6000 grit side, you can see it here again. What you're getting with that is you're getting both. You're getting, you could reset your profile of your edge with this, but it would take forever. This side here is basically like your ceramic rod. The medium grit ceramic rod. This is like your ultra fine, or almost to a strop side here on the 6000 grit side. So when you're using this, I would still profile my broadheads or profile any edges with the sandpaper or the file or anything you need to actually set that profile. Once you have that profile, this stone becomes a sharpening part once you have your edge set. And this whetstone right here, like I said, I have a link down below for you. It's fantastic whetstone. Downside to the whetstones, again, like I said, you got to soak them for about 10 minutes before you can use it. And you got to have something, you know, you got to have a setup to catch any of the water that's coming out of the stone. You got to put them on something, you know, whether it's a piece of tile or like I used that little cutting board, which was good, or a big tray or something to put it on where you're not worried about that water and the goop that comes, you know, that paste that builds up on there, which is a very valuable part of sharpening on a whetstone, is that paste that'll build on there. But it's a little messier, and then you got to clean up when you're done. But they are phenomenal. And if you do like using a whetstone, this is the one I highly recommend. When I bought it years ago, the first one that I bought it based on a tremendous amount of research. I knew I wanted to get into whetstone sharpening and practice it, so I did a lot of research on which one was the best, and everybody kept saying, this is the stone that you want that does everything. So I bought it. I used the crap out of it, finally wore it out, and ended up buying a new one. And this is an awesome stone. Now, me personally, what I use this. This is the Lansky crock sticks. You can see them right here. Now they do come, if you twist the end of this block, you're going to see two holes in here. These two would have two white rods in them, but I actually don't have the white rods anymore because I gave those away. Here we got two of the gray rods. The white rods are the same thing, but they are a fine grit. These gray ones, these are a medium grit rod. So you can just store them right in there, which is kind of nice. Just like that, and close that up, and you can have it all in one compact unit. You have holes in here for 25-degree angle and 20-degree angle. And if you want to with this, what you can do is take that, put them in here on the 25 grit side, or 25-degree angle, like you see right there. You can hold this down with your hand here, and you can run your knife or your broadheads holding the knife vertical. You don't want to tilt it with this. You just keep it straight up and down for everything, and you let the stick do the work for you. Okay, just like that. And believe it or not, this thing is incredible to do. I don't usually use it this way, but if you're new to this and you're learning, this is an awesome way. The only angle you have to focus on is keeping that knife blade or broadhead straight up and down. It's a simple, brilliant setup that all you have to do is keep that head straight up and down as you pull. The angles on the rods do the rest. And you have a 20 grit side here, or 20-degree angle side over here, and you can spin it around so that your hand is guarded and outside of that V and not in there and going to give you any issues. This is a great setup. And if you really want to do something cool, like when I give these away for gifts, is I'll give them away, I buy them. It's got two medium grit rods in there, and then you also have the two white rods in there. And then on the bottom of this right here, I actually glue a piece of leather like this right here that ends up being a leather strop that is on the bottom of this. I glue that leather right on there, so you have your medium grit, your fine grit stones, and then you can put those away, flip it over, and you can actually strop right on the back of this, and then everything packs up and fits right inside of itself in all these holes, and it becomes a perfect little system for anybody to have. It's a great system to bring with you in camp, have it in the field, whatever you want to do. It's an awesome little setup. I love these. I have probably, I don't know, I want to say I probably got 40 of these rods laying around. I buy these all the time. Now me personally, the block, I don't use the block. I want the rods. The rods are everything for me. And it's just my preference of style. So when I take a knife or a broadhead and I actually have that thing sharpened, whether I did it on the belt sanding wheel by a file, which is how I normally do it, is a belt sander now, file for a lot of years, or the sandpaper. Any one of them work perfect, whichever one you want to attempt. Let me turn that off there. Either once I have that set and I have that hard edge all built, I go to this ceramic rod. I just do it just like this. For me, it works perfect. I use it like that, switch it over, go to this side, or if I'm not in that mood, if I'm in a different mood, I might run it like this. Just depends on the mood I'm in, switch it over. But it gives me a lot of versatility, and for me, I like it. I get much better results and much finer. I don't know, I do better with this than I do with any of these other methods. It's all personal preference, but for me, this is my whole world when it comes to sharpening. There's nothing that works better for me than this rod. I don't know why, but it's just what I use the most for everything that I do, and I can do it either way. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm using it for, and I'll use this same exact thing. I'll use it for 10-inch knives, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll just pull it right across like this. It makes no difference. I know somebody's going to yell at me and say there's no guard on it, like there's not a guard on here, and I'm going to cut myself. Use this if you want a guard. Okay, use something like that. Use something like that, the block where you can keep your hands out of it. You do whatever you want to do. Me personally, this is how I've been sharpening them for 100 years. Well, 25 of them anyway, so almost a quarter that long. But I do it all just like this. You want to do yours different, but don't nobody give me crap on how unsafe I am and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to hear it. Same thing with my knives. Same exact thing. I bring them right down on here like that. I bring them right in and sharpen them. Get that side set. That's how I use a ceramic rod, and that is how I'm always, I sharpen everything. This is how I do it. It works, that's, whew. After all we've just got done with that thing right there is pretty scary sharp, I'll bet just that. Yeah, look at that, shaves it right off. After all we've been doing with this knife on files, you just saw me use a file on it, and then I just hit it a couple strokes with that, and you just watch this shaves right off your arm. Like I said, this system, these rods work really, really good for me. Now, once you have that edge, doesn't matter if you went sandpaper, you went with this, you went with the file, you went with the Lansky sticks, the crock, it doesn't matter what you use. The final step is you have to strop. Stropping can be done on card paper or cardboard. It can be done on leather. Doesn't matter. Either one of them work great. On cardboard, you want to lay it down on something flat. So I'm not going to show that one right now, but the concept is the same. With leather, you just put it on and you run it backwards. I don't have to lay this down on a table. Okay, none of this stuff. I don't even have to lay this down on a table or that Whetstone. I can hold it just like this and do this all day. It doesn't have to be on a table. It doesn't have to be flat. The ceramic rod doesn't have to be. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that you keep that angle the same all the time. Well, I could hold it straight up and down vertical like this and do this, and there's nothing wrong with it, as long as that angle here stays the same. Or it can be laying down flat on a table as long as that angle's the same. Or I can hold it like this. As long as that angle's the same, none of it matters. It doesn't matter how you have it set up. And you notice half the time I'm even working the strop more than I am the knife. I'm almost holding the knife still and using the strop more than I am that. It's fine. None of it matters. This is not rocket science. It's a matter of keeping the angles the same. But when it comes to stropping, you want to be able to strop that edge to really bring it in together. Cardboard works great, leather works great. Finishing touches is always done on your blue jeans like this. If you're not safe or comfortable doing it on your thigh or you're worried, take a piece of old blue jean and mount it on a board or just stretch it between something or whatever you want or lay it on you. It doesn't matter. Find a way to be able to strap on blue jeans. For me, it's the thigh is always the best like this. It just dropping that edge. That's that final finished version. And man, does it make a difference. I've done a video on there and showed you that. I've done videos on most of this, yet a lot of people still ask me questions. So I'm kind of trying to put it all into one to help you figure out what is going to be the best method for you to use. For you to say, okay, I want to try the sanding block. Now you know how to do it. You want to try the belt sander. Now you know how to do it. There's a link below that'll tell you which one to get, what belts you want, the whole deal. I'll put it all right there for you now. And in the files, you want files? Any mill bastard file will work. Maybe I'll throw one down there for you, but any 6-inch mill bastard file is going to be pretty much perfect and going to do a great job. I know people say, oh, there's better ones, and this one, and Nicholson, and you know what? This one I bought from Cobalt, which would be Lowe's. I think I got this from Lowe's for about $1.99. It's a mill bastard file. It works just like as good as this one that I probably paid 25 bucks for. They both do the same thing. Doesn't matter. The stone definitely matters. On this one, if you're looking for a Whetstone, W-H-E-T, Whetstone, that you will use water on, this one is definitely the one that I prefer. And again, it's not that I know a tremendous amount about these, but so many people, the research I did said that this is the one that you want to go with. And that was years ago, and I've been, you know, and they still make it exactly the same and still using it. So that I would recommend on, but very simple process. You don't need to go out and buy a work sharp or any of this fancy stuff or all this angle guides and stuff. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. As you saw, just in the screwing around we did on that, I ended up making that into a razor sharp knife, and I didn't even intend to do it. And I did it with a little set, a little, whatever that is, 5 or 6 inch little Lansky ceramic rod. That I love. This is, like I said, the most valuable tool I have. If they ever go out of business, I'm going to buy 12 of these, 12 more cases of these and save them, because for 25 years this has been my most valuable sharpening tool I could ever have. I will put a link for that down below for you too. So, but there's options out here for you. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. None of these systems on here are that expensive. Not even this. I don't remember what this is, but this being the most expensive, and they're still under they're like under 75 bucks. These are, you know, under 50, I think. This stuff is not expensive to have or to use, and they all work flawless. So, and they'll work for your knives, and they'll work for your broadheads, and they will fix chipped edges, they will fix deformed blades, they will fix everything that you have that's an issue you can solve with something that's on this table. So hopefully this kind of gave you a choice. And if you want to dive deeper into this stuff, if you get one of these and want to learn how to use it, I did a video. I will try to link it at the end of this for you that will show you how to use this. You want to get into this and build your own of this, I did a video again 5 years ago on how to do this. I will put a link to that in the end of this video here for you too, so it'll show you all the detail in that. You know, any of this kind of stuff, it's all right there for you. So thanks for watching. We'll be back with more stuff soon. Talk to you later. Bye.